First off, a little tidbit about oil, and I think oil is going to drift down a little bit. I don't know if it's going to drift down below 100. I wouldn't bet on that, that's for sure. But it goes on to say here, despite the rising prices of oil, there seems to be ample supplies available. A report showed U.S. crude stockpiles growing more than expected last week, suggesting that the demand for oil remains sluggish. And I think this is true as far as demand for oil goes on in Europe, too. So you're going to find this chart. This is the oil chart, and it's settled around 106. It's about 106 right now. But I also want to point out, way back here when the Libyan uprising was going on, or the NATO-inspired Libyan uprising was going on, back in March 7, 2011, oil was around 106, and it had a meteoric rise. So it fell, though. It fell. And a lot of that was due to demand issues. So any story that comes out that could maybe lessen the outlook of what's going on with Iran could bring oil down quite a bit. This is a very, very news-driven market. I also want to point out something else. This is what you might expect, for gas prices, and hopefully this is an accurate chart. Say $110 a barrel, 386. I think we're like between these two marks on a nationwide average already. Probably around 370 or something like that on an average in the nation. 120 a barrel, 416 average. 130 a barrel, 446, say 450. 140 a barrel, 476. And then 150, you're going to get over $5 a barrel, $5 a gallon. $220 a barrel, over $7 a gallon. And I think we're going to get in this range. So if people drive cars, which is probably most of the people in the United States, I'd suggest that they start getting into their little mechanics hats on and use their hypermiling techniques, because this could probably add up pretty fast. And they're talking about an impact as a percentage of median income, dollar impact per household, and all this type of stuff. It's quite a bit. It's a big difference. And so expect this to happen. And the tendency is once it gets up this high, they don't like lowering it. So I just want to point that out as an investment angle too. But as far as the price, as far as the euro goes, we saw this major downward trend going on here, right? And I don't like using that word trend, because trends can be broken very easily, and it's not exactly like it's happening on its own. What's going on is there's a lot of geopolitical events that are causing it. Mainly the fact that the debt crisis in Europe, and the debt crisis in Europe has not been resolved. But I did point out many times, all these drama people talking about this is going to crash right to the floor. It's not. I knew it wasn't going to crash right to the floor. They were going to do something, especially for like these elections coming up. Now, eventually, it is going to crash, but it's going to be restructured, and the European Union is not going to go away, and the euro is not going to go away. I know this for a fact. But they're going to have some kind of crash of various financial markets and nations' debts throughout the world. But I think they're going to be rescued by a global entity, and that has actually, I think, been planned this way. Now, but actually, I'm trying to make the moves correctly, so I'm out of the woods with this stuff. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure, though. I never am 100% sure. As far as the silver today, I sold off the rest of the USLV, and I made a couple small bets on it. I just did half yesterday. Like I said, went in yesterday again low, and I sold it that day, and I kept the other half. And I sold it actually below 35, so obviously I'm not somebody that's clairvoyant and knows everything that's going on, because otherwise I'd be richer than George Soros. And what I plan to do is, I think, see, silver doesn't really have to pull back. It can sit, say it sits in this 35 area for a while, bouncing around. What's going to happen to that USLV fund? It's going to start eroding. Now, I don't know this. I mean, I know how it works mathematically, but it's not like you're trying to pick, an entry point for the price of silver like 35. You're trying to pick an entry point where you're going to see a movement going up, like in the case of USLV. You want to see a movement that's going to go up. So I don't know if this is going to continue like this for a while, but I'd like to, and I could be wrong. This thing could be way the hell up on Monday. I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be wrong about that. Now, if this thing goes way the hell up on Monday, I'm probably going to sell that portion of PSLV that I bought when it did the offering and it dropped like 10% in one day. I decided to put a little more into that. I'm probably going to sell that off, and I'm going to use that for playing with, not playing, but winning, hopefully, with USLV, because there is a heck of a lot more potential or loss involved with USLV. But I think silver is actually in a very bullish trend right now, so it's not too scary to jump into here at 30 something dollars an ounce, considering where it's been. Now, this is the silver to gold ratio, and you notice that it's taken a good jump here today. And also what happened in January, we had those 2 days when we had a big price movement in silver. And that's good. This can happen again. I don't know if it will or won't, but there's been big jumps in palladium, platinum, and all the way across the board. And I was kind of expecting that, and I actually should have bet more that way. I'm not, like I said, I'm not clairvoyant, so I will bet kind of cautiously. But I think I'm probably going to go in harder for USLV and hold it till I get some serious gains and hopefully catch a movement like this. That would be pretty nice. Because actually, if you held USLV for about a month and you just happen to have a 20% increase in the price of silver, you're probably going to have a double move in your money. So that's a nice chunk of change, and I'll take that kind of gains. Those kind of gains I like. So, but I kind of cautiously went out of some of it, and I think that might be the smart thing to do right now. I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, and anybody says they're 100% sure, they wouldn't be on YouTube telling you about it. Now, like I said, I sold up here. I think silver's got a hell of a lot more room to run, because it's going to reach that 40 mark without too much trouble. I mean, it's been over 40 quite a bit of the year in 2011, so there's no reason it can't go over 40 pretty easily. And you notice how many people were saying $22 silver. I mean, yeah, it could happen. I mean, I don't want to say like I'm so overconfident that I know it's not going to happen, but there's too many other things saying it's not going to happen. The fact that elections are coming up, QEs are coming on. The ECB, the European Central Bank, says it's going to lend as much money as other banks need. It's almost a given. Why would silver go down under the circumstances? And people were just forecasting these type of things because in the fourth quarter of 2011, everything looked dismal. But I want to point out something, because I know a lot of people maybe don't want to hear this, but these silver pundits say silver went to $110 an ounce this year. They'll tell you it's going to go to $200. It's no matter what it did, they're going to tell you it's going to go higher. They are like a bunch of religious kooks, because no matter what you tell them, whatever reality's right in front of their face, they just know silver's got to go up, because it's like, I don't know what the deal is, but you know what? those kind of people are actually going to be the things that are drive silver up to very high prices. So they're helpful. That's the way I look at it. But I'm not exactly looking at what they're saying because, um, if silver goes up to $200 an ounce in, they say, a year or so, definitely some of that stuff is getting sold. They're going to be telling me it's going to go to at least at that. See, when it gets up to $200 an ounce, then there's going to be a lot of people saying it's going to 1,000, and it could, especially with inflation. But that's where all the predictions get brave. They're like way the hell up there, and you're just, do what the hell they want. Do what the hell they want. They like holding shiny silver coins forever. Go ahead. That's the way I look at it. But I don't think they're correct. I don't think those kind of people are correct, and they're misleading the masses. And I could say a couple other things because sometimes I mention with the religion, but I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of these people that are into religion are some of the biggest crooks going. A lot of, and I'm not saying like you could take, you can get a Bible, King James if you're Christian, or whatever it is, and you can download it for free, get a PDF and read all the red words. You don't need anybody explaining it to you. But they got a racket and a half going with these charitable organizations. They draw the pastor's salary, they go around, they have all the people they talk to, get contributions. And any cash contribution, you don't know what the hell they're doing. How do you think they report all that stuff? Do you think they actually report all the cash contributions or what's given in? The whole thing is a racket and a half. It is a racket and a half. And the vast majority of people don't want to hear that, but the only true religious people I ever seen were the ones that don't make money. Mother Teresa going out to different places, working with the sick and everything like that. Most of the people you see that are religious are making a hell of a lot of money. And it's a racket. It's a racket. It's a tax-free racket. It's charitable. You draw a pastor's salary. You have your salary, and everything else is paid for because it's non-profit. People don't understand the tax rules behind that. It is a racket and a half, believe me. And if people saw that, they wouldn't be thinking so highly of a lot of these. That's why I even look at Lindsey Williams, though. I mean, he's got a racket going. You'd think he's making out like a fat rat, too. Believe me, he is. But he's been wrong, so I don't know how much of a fat rat he's going to be making out as. But I'm going to say one thing I think about with this oil. It's been around 106, right? And I still think, for reasons that the demand's not there, and you saw that the stockpiles are growing and stuff like that, I think it's going to drift lower. Now, I'd be scared about saying it's going to drift down at this point, 96. I wouldn't know why. I mean, anything's really possible. I mean, you would think possibly down to 103.50. This is a price point that's been around, and that's probably a good way of looking at it. How many times something's been in a price point. But I don't think it's going to go straight up from here because I'm just guessing that there's not going to be any more bad news out of Iran. That's not going to be the same bad news that's always been. It's like they got to top that story with another story to drive the markets up. They already threatened to close the Straits of Hormuz. If you say that 20 million times, it's not going to keep driving the markets up. If you're not going to, they're talking about, okay, they already cut off the supplies to England and the UK and France. Fine, it's not going to drive the market up even more. But what can I say? I think the next step is probably going to be more like imminent war, that type of stuff. That'll drive the market up. But in the meantime, I could see it drifting down. So, and the other thing is, I think, Obama talking about excessive speculation driving the market up. And actually, that's true because it's not really by supply and demand. It's really by the fact that Iran's tensions with Iran are getting higher because the supplies are actually going up. Now he's talking about releasing from our oil reserve. So what could possibly happen is if this market does go up pretty high, it's like I would never, like if I was in here on a bet and I got in here, I'd say 103 or whatever it was. Um, I would not try to ride it all the way up because I think when it gets up to this point, you remember this was actually hurting the economy right around here, 112, 114 on a WTI. Not talking about the Brent. The Brent would have been like 130 or something like that. We'll probably see a major pullback in the economy, and they're probably going to do things like raise margins to bring the price down, and they're probably also going to release from the oil reserve stockpiles. So in that case, I don't think this thing's going to go straight up to 150. I think what's going to bring that up to 150 is an actual attack on Iran, but I don't know when that's going to be. But on the same token, if there's an actual attack on Iran, expect gold to go way the hell up and silver to go even faster. So probably the best strategy is to stick mainly with the silver anyway, because silver has, I could see silver doubling to 70, despite them saying it's used in everything and all this kind of garbage. A lot of it's used in like jewelry and silverware and photography and stuff like that. Those types of products will just go out the door if they're not going to be using them, and it'll be, the essential electronic products will still be used. So you'll see demand destruction and stuff like that. In other words, you're not going to see silver. It's not going to hurt the economy too bad to see silver double. But in the case of oil, if the price of oil doubled, and it went to like $220 a barrel, you're talking over $7 a gallon gasoline. At that price, everything's going to go up so damn high that, including the food and everything like that, it would actually crush the economy. So I think you're probably not going to see this oil stay up at this level very long because the demand is going to get crushed. But in the case of silver could probably go to 75 or more. It's probably going to more than double. And but like I said, if it doubles, I'm probably going to get the hell out of there too, because I think everything will crash along with it. It's going to be oil, silver, gold, platinum, and palladium are all pretty much going to run together. And it's just a matter of picking that right pivot point and getting the hell out of it at the right time. Now, before I mention about the gold-platinum ratio, actually one point in time, gold was 15% more than platinum. Now you're talking it's 4% more than platinum. So it's getting a lot tighter. Pretty soon it'll be 1-to-1. It'll be below 1-to-1. Gold should be less than platinum. We saw a huge movement yesterday in the price of platinum. Today you're seeing a huge movement in the price of silver. For some reason I was kind of expecting that silver would move pretty good today. I don't know what the hell it's going to do on Monday, and that's got me thinking. I'm not really sure. And but I probably am going to get into USOV quite a bit heavier, because I think the markets are heating up, and this next leg up in silver after this little leg up, it might be a lot bigger, and I want to triple gains on that.